Good morning, everyone. You are listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com, or you can watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, WCEG Network, and Roku. I'm your host, Attorney Melaney LaGrone, and this is Beyond the Border, where we talk all things immigration. We are the worldwide community empowerment group, and we speak life into the community. Subscribe free to our YouTube channel, WCEG Network. Like, follow, and connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, IG, and LinkedIn. And new platforms, download our free mobile app on Apple. Go to the Apple Store, search WCEG Talk Radio, and also on Android at the Google Play Store. Last but not least, the topics and opinions are those of your show hosts and guests and not WCEG Network. Thank you so much for your continued support. Hey everyone, it's so good to be back today, and we'll probably be with you maybe for about 40 minutes or so today. But today I have a really good friend of mine. Her name is Marie. She is a former immigration paralegal, and she's in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And as you all know, I have an office not only in Lawrenceville, Georgia, but also down in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And Marie and I get together all the time, and we kind of talk about the differences in immigration when it comes to like the actual states versus the U.S. Virgin Islands, because it's a territory down here, as well as the similarities. And one of the similarities that we have been kind of going back and forth about all the time is the whole Title 42. So for those of you who are not quite familiar with Title 42, what happened was back in the day when, that President Trump person was in office, he started Title 42. And Title 42 was because of COVID-19 and the pandemic. And basically what he said was, we don't want people coming to the borders and coming in and, infecting everybody and spreading germs and things like that, as if it would be any different from us in the States spreading COVID-19 to each other. But, it was just a way to have another anti-immigration law. So now fast forward to today, President Biden has lifted Title 42. So that essentially means people can still come to the borders, they can still seek asylum, they can enter. But of course, because it is immigration, and of course, policies and procedures change all the time, there has been kind of some additional safeguards and policies that have been in place now that Title 42 has ended. So, I don't know. I mean, as far as me, it's kind of, we had Title 42 to keep people from coming. Now we don't have Title 42, but kind of sort of the new policies and procedures that have been implemented now that everyone will be coming is a little bit stricter when it comes to asylum and things like that. So fast forward to all of the conversations that we've been having lately. Picture the United States, and then of course, you have the border. Okay, so you have the border of Mexico, Texas, all these different borders, right, where everyone was coming to the border. And that's when you see, you would see on the news, the influx of people to the borders, and how there used to be, the whole staging areas with cages and things like that. So down in the U.S. Virgin Islands, because it's an island, all right, we are surrounded by water. And so it's like water is that's our border, because we have a whole bunch of different countries that are surrounding us. And the way that immigrants get to the Virgin Islands is by boats. Okay, so it's not the walking to the border, it's by boats. So, Marie, I want to thank you so much for joining me this morning. I know you were like, oh my goodness, you're going to have me on the radio, this, that, and the other. But I guarantee you it'll be painless, and it'll be just like us talking normally when we're going to dinner. So Marie has been, she is a previous immigration paralegal down here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Okay, so she worked in the past for immigration attorneys that did what I do. Okay, and that's kind of why we hit it off. So now she's kind of just enjoying her, her retired life here in the USVI on St. Thomas. But yeah, so what do you think, Marie? What are your thoughts about this whole Title 42? Whether or not, it was good or bad, because we all have our opinions. And now that it has been lifted, how do you think that that's going to affect the Virgin Islands and people crossing the water and coming here now?
Okay, and good morning, Melaney. Lovely to see you. And good morning, everyone out there. So I actually have several kind of thoughts somewhat on this, but that don't just relate to the Virgin Islands. So can we veer a little bit? Just
let me tell you, like I said, one thing about my show is we go where we go. So wherever it ends up is where it ends up, because it's all immigration.
Okay. Well, first of all, I understand. I think that a lot of people who don't have this life experience obviously are not going to have a full picture of the desperation of people that leads them to come across the borders, and the journeys and the inherent dangers that they encounter. So basically, people coming across the border, across the US borders, they'll come from, as you know, South America. I know I've heard of a Haitian couple that immigrated to Chile and then came up to Mexico, and their journey's taken them a year. So in the States, the people coming up to the borders in the States, generally, they'll come on foot, and there are two particularly dangerous portions of the journeys that they take. And one is that they have to come up through a rainforest, which is from, I think, Colombia to Panama. It's called the Darien Gap. And they come on foot and bus, and it's so dangerous. They'll lose their possessions. They're cutting through jungle with, there'll be the traffickers. They'll pay traffickers to help them cut through the jungle. Sometimes they'll be left, and they have to go through this already established path, and they have to cross rivers, get in mudslides. They lose all their possessions. They suffer from starvation. They'll get sick. Women are raped and attacked. So once they get through that, then they'll come up, and there's a train that is taken, not by everyone, but it's called La Biesta, which means the beast, and it's also known as the train of death. So there's primarily men, but there's also women and children that board this train. It's an open-air train, and it's 2 weeks journey that they come up on. There's no shade, there's no sanitation, there's nothing. They'll get sick. You can smell sewage in there. There's poor children that actually the father will decide this is too hair-raising and send their kids back to their countries. So that's the perils in a nutshell, and certainly not all of them, of the land crossings. And then we come to the Virgin Islands, which, as Melaney said, is unique because it's water. And what the country that is the most desperate over in this region is Haiti. And Haiti is in free fall. It has lost its government. It is Port-au-Prince, the capital, is run by gangs. There's one infamous one called barbecue. They just assault people, they're terrorizing, they've taken over, and it's just pure anarchy over there. So you have, as a result of this, thousands more people are trying to get out. They already were, because Haiti, for years, for decades, has endured earthquakes, wars, all kinds of things. It's just awful. They're in such a terrible state. But now, with this issue with the gangs, you have such an increase of people. There are thousands that sleep outside the passport office in Port-au-Prince, in danger of being shot, because the gangs are just roaming the streets, shooting willy-nilly, and these people are just trying to get their passports so that they can actually try to apply for asylum. And many of them, there's also that element that is so desperate, they are overloading on fishing boats, these precarious crafts that will take the risk to come across the water to reach the Virgin Islands, because we are a port of entry for the United States. And
you know what, and speaking of the fishing boat, because
I'm sorry.
There wasn't an incident just like recently where it overturned and so many people passed away.
Yes.
Like, so it's almost like, so it's like people have to realize that if immigrants are risking their lives, traveling like hours and days and years to get here, or traveling across the water, just jumping in a boat with millions of, of course I'm exaggerating with the millions, but you get what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? And potentially could drown in the sea, in the water. What are they getting? What are they coming from? You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I will take that risk, because that risk is better for me and my family than staying where I am and dealing with what's going on in my country. I just got goosebumps.
Me too. It's and I think that to a person who doesn't deal in this field and doesn't, have much of an interest other than when it's impacting the border, they are completely unaware of these situations. And there's always, I think that, without being too political, we tend to look for scapegoats when things are in crisis, whether it's economic crisis or, so they don't have such an interest to sort of see what these individuals are coming from. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important to try to let people know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you were saying, so they're coming over here from Haiti. And so if everybody can kind of picture this, okay, it's almost like everyone talking about people coming from Mexico to the United States. So it's like a lot of immigrants come to Haiti, from Haiti to the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Yes.
Excuse me.
And you, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yep,
go ahead. It's not only Haiti. We get, as you know, we have a very large illegal immigrant population here on Ireland. And I think that's partly the logistics of the inter-island travel, because, we're in the Eastern Caribbean. We also have all the islands down south to us. Mm-hmm. So there's, you've got people here, primarily the Haitians are the immigrants. Then I would say the Dominican Republic, which borders Haiti. And then you start going further south. So it's the primary demographic of our immigrant population. And, many of them have come here because they can also get TPS from Haiti as well, which is another topic, I realize.
And on the islands, it's almost like, they could fly under the radar a little bit. You get what I'm saying? So it's more of, because the U.S. Virgin Islands is a territory. It's not kind of on, stateside, maps where people are kind of keeping track and, and stuff like that. Now, don't get me wrong, you all, because we do have ICE, I'm saying we've got USCIS and all of that here. But it's like, people will come to the island and they will just live their life, and they'll do their own thing. And, almost like stateside, where if you don't get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? So you don't get into any criminal trouble, domestic violence trouble, nothing like that, that you kind of can just live your life and fly under the radar.
And
So,
I also think, and I may not be popular for saying this, but I also think that because we are such a tiny island, and you have a lot of family here. Family is huge here, and they'll go back generation. And as a result, you may end up with certain officers that have family members, and I don't, within the population of immigrants. And I think that, we don't kind of have the big immigration sweeps here.
right.
They're not going out from house to house, rounding people up. So I think that a lot, as you said, many people just come and they are able to be under the radar and live and work. They even send their children to schools. And there are people that have been here for 30 years that never left because they know they can't, but they establish lawful lives apart from being here without status.
Right. They establish lawful lives because they ultimately usually, a lot of times people will, maybe like join up with a United States citizen or something like that, get a tax ID number or something like that, and build a business and start working and things like that. So, and the same as what they do in the States. And what do? Hey, you come down here, you enjoy this beautiful, beautiful weather, of course, and this is the United States. So you fall in love with a United States citizen, and you go in and you end up, being able to get your green card through marriage, somehow. Of course, they have to, just like every place else, jump through hoops, depending on how they came. Do they have to leave and go consular process, and go back and not go to necessarily a country that they came from because it's in turmoil, but they can go to a different consulate, usually Barbados and stuff like that, in consular process. But
now, the difference that you asked me about, what I thought about Title 42, one of the differences and the new restrictions that Biden's imposed, well, first of all, I found out that it's for non-Mexicans only, these new restrictions. Secondly, moving back to the VI, I have to wonder, and I think it may be for the Haitians, they have no borders to cross unless they're going through Dominican Republic and getting on a boat and they seek asylum. One of the rules is you have to sort asylum in any country that you've traversed to get to the border. And that's one of the requirements. Well, the Haitians don't really kind of have that because they just, you can't apply for asylum out in the sea.
Right. Somewhere in the middle of the water.
There's no station.
Hey, by the way.
Yeah, and also the other requisite for the thing for Title 2 is this issue of making appointments for asylum with their new software. It's called CBP1.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I know where you're going with that. I'm going to go back to that just one quick second, because we've had some issues with that.
Yes.
Do you feel that it's easier then for immigrants to seek asylum here in the U.S. Virgin Islands because of the new policy, or what are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's easier, or do you think it's the same? It's the same hoops and drama and denials? Because let me tell you, in Georgia, unfortunately, we have like a 2% approval rate. Like it's well known that Georgia down south, it's one of those states that are like, yeah, right, we're not giving out people asylum, even though every immigration attorney that takes an asylum case to court, you know what I'm saying? Like, we feel like we have enough, but it's never enough.
So with, as far as statistically, I can tell you this: in the time that I've been a paralegal and seeing these asylum applications, which would really have come from Haiti, the standard, as you know, for approval is extremely high. And the evidentiary documentation that has to be provided is intense. So with that said, I actually feel that here, there are a lot of denials for Haitian citizens, and it may not be because they're coming from this terrible, terrible country, but they still have to meet the bar of evidence. And often they're fleeing. They're fleeing with the shirt on their back. They don't have access even to birth certificates. I mean, the infrastructure in Haiti to obtain official documentations is just non-functional, basically. They will wait. It may work, it may not, depends on, the state that's there now. I mean, they could shut stuff down, or it could be shut up, or there could be no employment. Who knows what could happen? But a lot of Haitians will come without even any papers, or they may have a bare bones paper, but they've got no police records because the police don't exist over there anymore, of attempts on their lives from gang members, the threat to the verifiable threat and the credible threat to their life. They will come here and they'll say, I seek asylum. I was threatened. My life was threatened. Where's your proof? And they can't provide it. And they get denied. And they, as you know, asylum takes years. So they will generally, they'll get their TPS and they'll have their asylum running. That kind of keeps them out of detention centers, as it were, which is, I think that's what's been going on now in the States. And it can keep them out. They can work and they can kind of still function. So they've got a duality there, even though TPS provides no immigration benefit.
Right. And I guess we didn't even think about that, because it's like, that is so true, because when you're traveling, you're supposed to have all these, or a way to get all this documentation for the evidence. And if you're leaving, a country that's in turmoil and, there's issues and things like that, it's like, yeah, where's the evidence? How do you even get the evidence?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to bring it with you. Because because at the end of the day, it's like, who really knows everything that they're going to need? And they come into an immigration office once they get here and they're like, here you go. I'm seeking asylum and here's all the evidence that you need.
Yeah. So again, with the appointment process that's required, I don't know how they're going to handle that here. I don't know how they will.
It's not very tech savvy here, you guys.
No, and
we're back in the day kind of thing, like, think maybe 80s, Nobody does anything via, the computer that much, or, that whole application that you're saying, like you have to do like a face recognition thing where you have to put your phone up and all of this type of stuff. And it's like difficult as heck. Because let me tell you, as an immigration attorney, it is so difficult for my clients to get things to me if they don't physically give it to me. You know what I'm saying? Like physically give me paperwork and physically give me applications filled out and things like that, because this whole technology, and I mean, look, my age, and I don't like it that much either, because I'm regular pen and paper type of person too, but you have to adapt. But here, yeah, they'll adapt and it'll be years and years and years down the line. Yeah.
And the other thing, the papers that you might get will have been possibly damaged on the boat crossing.
Yep.
Wet, mashed up, illegible. Yep. Or even for people who have been here on island for years and do have papers and decide to process, many of them, their documents are lost in the hurricanes. So there's this issue, and a lot of people a lot of migrants are also unaware of the importance of these documents, and they tend to just keep them in shopping bags, plastic shop. They're not, they're not like us. I'm not saying that we're that different, but generally they'll be a big muddle and they'll be incomplete. You've only got a partial record. So
I remember we were talking about this one day at dinner, and it was like, we think everybody needs to get, obviously you can take our advice or not, but everybody needs to get like some sort of like mini safes. You know what I'm saying? Like even a mini safe that you can travel with, because they have the ones that are really small type of thing, and keep everything in there, your birth certificate, your passport, you know what I'm saying? Any sort of IDs, passport or birth certificates of children, stuff like that. Because even here, you know, when the hurricanes hit that were very devastating, I'm sure there was a lot of people that lost, you know what I'm saying? Like people that usually are very organized and things like that, that lost a lot of, you know, important papers.
I always recommend, and I do this myself, is to, if you have access to a scanner, scan your documents in and email them to yourself. That provides a sort of a backup.
Because it's always somewhere in the world.
You know, you've got them somewhere.
Yeah, out there in the universe.
I'm in the cloud and privatize it, only for your viewing. Right. On a secure site. But, you know, if you're able to, I definitely would tell people to do that.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And that's even, that makes a lot of sense even for me, you know what I'm saying? Because yeah, I'm like, where are my papers? Where are my, yes, I know where they are, but if I had to hurry up and leave, or, you know, water damage, whatever, it's like, what are they, what's going to happen to them? No, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I like that. I might have to get off.
And it also helps us because
scan papers.
That's what I was just going to say. It helps us get your applications completed quicker, because those kinds of things do take up time. And we know that people trying to immigrate live under a high level of anxiety. I'm an immigrant myself. I know the anxiety that you know you endure, and you're wondering every day for that notice. You're wondering when it's all going to be processed. So you know that actually helps the whole process out. If we can get this word out to people to just get your stuff up there, scanned in, and then that really assists.
Get organized. Excuse me. Also, well, I guess on another note, because we always talk about timing, and I think it's like people should not wait. That's another reason I feel that people should not wait, because you never know what's going to happen day to day.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, look, if you have a way right now to even get a green card, whether it be through family, spouse, parents, brother, sister, you know what I'm saying? Or even a sponsoring employer, like, you shouldn't keep just thinking about it and saying, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Because, you know, we love procrastination. But what happens when you start procrastinating? Stuff, you know, I'll say stuff starts happening through life, because life happens, and you never know what happens. You know what I'm saying? So I can tell. And
you also, you know, not only stuff in your life that can happen that will could impact your application, but you're also going to leaving yourself open to the good old government with any changes. And as we know, they can change in a heartbeat. I'm not even sure how, you know, I mean, it's Title 42, everybody knew of an expiration, but in my opinion with that, I think Biden could have extended it somewhat to get the word out to people, because apparently, you know, there was a fake social media post that went out saying, and it hit all these migrants coming up, you know, they're saying that the borders are open and no one will be returned. Yeah, so that created that initial surge. Yeah, that's what was like.
No, that's not what we're saying.
So they get, you know, they have an option to turn back. Like, oh, well, I'm not going to push through.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you said, policies can change daily. You know what I'm saying? In a heartbeat. Policies can change while you are in the middle of your application. Okay. But at least you have an application in, so that, you know what I'm saying, you would just shift, you know, your attorney would shift and make it, you know, update it per se. But it's like, yeah, policies change daily.
And then also you've got the potential for fee increases, and they are very generous to themselves with the fee increases.
Did you see that? Were you able to see the
honestly, I didn't get a chance. No, but I know that the ones I did see that were previously proposed were
It's like 100% increase on
Some of
something.
them, yeah, some of them were 100% increase. So
Yep. And that's the thing, you all, because come on, y'all already complain that, it's too expensive. You know what I'm saying? It's too expensive to go get a lawyer. It's too expensive to pay the petition fees and stuff like that. But we're talking about your life, your livelihood. And so just imagine now, if there's a fee increase, how expensive do you think it's going to be then to go ahead and do this? And if you guys think about it, the government is doing this is intentional, if you understand what I'm saying. You get
and then, we've got election year coming up next year, and what's going to happen if there's a switch to that president or his competitor, Florida.
All heck can break
loose. We already know what those policies are. So it would really behoove anyone thinking about this to start the process ASAP.
Yep. Start the process ASAP, and don't do it on your own, okay? Find an immigration attorney to help you, all right? I always tell people, even that call my office, look, you ain't got to go with me, but I'm going to need you to go with somebody who is an immigration attorney, okay? Because just like we have, that's another thing too, just like we have like a lot of notarios in the States that help with the Mexican community fill out forms and stuff like that. In the Virgin Islands, we have what's called immigration consultants.
Yeah. And
we just love the immigration consultants.
Well, and the thing is, being a paralegal, I'm aware of this this issue that exists out here, and I don't think a lot of people realize that technically, to be an immigration, there are no educational requirements to be an immigration consultant. So anybody can adopt that title and fill out forms. And what I've encountered over the years, many clients that show up to an attorney's office in despair because they came here on the recommendation of someone they knew. They went off to see an immigration consultant who is really not concerned with an individual's plight or story and how the process may vary depending on the circumstances. And they'll just arbitrarily say, oh, well, you're married? Okay, we'll do this application, do the whole
pay me this minimal fee, so that gets attractive.
Pay me the minimum fee, then you cannot call me. Don't call me for advice. Yep. Don't, my only job is fill out these forms. And so many come to the attorney's offices and I was denied. I've been put in removal. I don't know. And when they bring that paperwork, it is wrong. It should have been done a completely different way, or it was partially complete.
And it's devastating because they've spent years now
and money,
and they could have had their green card.
Yep.
Shoot, some people could have been citizens by now.
Oh yeah, I personally know a few.
Yes.
And they've really been sent back to ground zero because, sometimes you have to go and get the complete, because they may not have had a complete immigration history. And, one of the things I love about you, Mel, is you always go FOIA. It's like, if there's a question, FOIA.
We need to find out what's going on before.
And you won't find immigration consultants even considering that, because they're just considering the face of it. This is your situation. You want this, all right? We'll do the I-130, 485, and the package, and
we'll throw it at the wall, and we'll see if it sticks. And if not, then it might be SOL, because I can't fix it for that's how
exactly.
And don't get me wrong, everyone, because I understand that people have limited means. I get that, but you have to realize that you either are going to pay now, or you're going to pay double and triple later to fix it. I remember I had a colleague of mine in another state, and she said by the time the gentleman got to her, he had already paid like $10,000 out of his pocket trying to get a green card. Whereas had he gone to her in the beginning, it probably would have been half that. You know what I'm saying? So now he's already paid 10,000. Now he has to come to her now to fix it, you know, add who knows how much on top of that. And so you guys kind of have to, you got to weigh that. You know what I'm saying? If,
Yeah.
you know, if you think that you can't afford it now, you're not going to be able to afford the fix later.
Yeah.
So go to some friends and family, ask them to borrow some money, go, you know, a church, an organization, somebody, and, you know, and say, this is what I'm trying to do, you know, can you help me? Because going to just a random person, and yes, I'm going to just put that out there, immigration consultants are random people. They're just people, okay? Going to a random person and paying them, you know, even $1,000, $500, a couple $1,000 for them to fill out this paperwork for you and send it in and say, okay, good luck. You know, where does that leave you? It makes no sense whatsoever.
And there ain't no refunds.
Right. There ain't no refunds. And I guess, and you
Even
all have to
from
think
the
about
government.
right. That's another thing too. What, Marie? Another thing. When you pay in the government, right? They're not refunding you either. So if you get denied and you have to start all over, you are now starting all over even with your fees to USCIS.
Yep. And
so
they
it's just something to
increased.
really think of on the front end. You know, I know it's scary. I know it's fearful. I know it's, you know, quote unquote, a lot of money, you know what I'm saying? But you have to look at your future and what your future goal is. And if your future goal is to stay here legally in the United States with your loved ones, your families and your friends, then you got to put that initial effort in the beginning, kind of do that whole take a deep breath and suck it up and move forward, knowing that if you decide to go with an immigration attorney instead of an immigration consultant, you will have better results. And I think you will be a lot happier. So that's just my plug. And like I said, I don't care if you call me, I don't care if you call me or call somebody that's an immigration attorney to get it done.
And just remember, you can't build a house on a foundation of sand.
Love it. I love that. Ooh, I just got goosebumps again. That is so true. That is so true. And you have to take your own, like you have to be responsible, you know what I'm saying, for your own livelihood and your own life. And you just have to you got to do it, you know, end of that, you got to do it. So, all right. So we got a little bit more time here. I'm trying to think of what else is going on in the world. Oh, I know. Real quick, how about talking about, so remember we were saying about TPS, because Haitians can get TPS, you know, as you all know, there's designations for different countries that get TPS. Well, now, I'll say the past. In the past, if you had TPS, so temporary protective status, okay, you couldn't go back to your country. The US has designated that country as a place that you can't go back to, and they issue you temporary protective status. If you're here in the United States and you get married, okay, to a US citizen, you were not able to adjust your status because they say that TPS was not a quote unquote legal entry because you didn't have it when you entered, you got it after the fact, okay? But now, if you have an immigration attorney do travel docs, okay, you can travel so that now with your TPS, you leave, you and your hubby, whoever, you go to Jamaica, Barbados, whatever, and you go have a quick vacation and you come back. When you come back, it's considered a lawful entry. And guess what you can do with a lawful entry? Now you can adjust your status in the United States with your hubby.
Yeah.
You know, or your wifey, you know, your hubby or your wifey, you know, whatever. But now you can adjust your status in the United States. Bam. Let's do it.
You know, that's brilliant strategy, Melaney.
Love it.
I don't know how much that is,
it's
promoted and shared. I don't know. I've not heard of any other attorneys. So I think that's an absolutely brilliant strategy.
Oh yeah, it's new. I mean, it is, because once again, like we say, immigration changes all the time.
Exactly.
But yes, it is new, and it's out there in the world to see. If anybody wants to, Google it, because Google, is everyone's, form of communication and information. But some things on Google are for real, y'all.
Right.
So you can take it.
And I think it's really important for those who may not have heard this most critical aspect. Even if you have TPS, you don't travel until you have that travel document, which your attorney can
get for you. Exactly. And just like you don't want to try, you don't want to test it, okay? Because believe me, I've had clients who have done that, or they've traveled with a pending green card application. Now, mind you, don't forget, when you have a pending green card application, if you don't still have a viable visa, like if you've overstayed your tourist visa, or if you or you didn't have one at all, okay, you're undocumented. Okay, undocumented just simply means that you don't have papers, legal papers to stay. Okay, you can't travel on that. And I always tell people, if you're going to travel, even if you're traveling state to state, you're still traveling at your own risk, because you never know what could go wrong, what could happen, any of that. So sit tight, y'all, because I had someone who left. They didn't even have to leave for an emergency situation, okay? Emergencies, parents ill, whatever, Once again, talk to an immigration attorney so that they can figure out the proper way for you to go, visit that, dying parent or whatever. But this person just decided they just wanted to just, hop on a plane and go somewhere, you know what I'm saying? Left their spouse here in the US, had a pending green card application, and now they've ruined their chance because they can't get back. And so it's like, now your spouse is here just kind of hanging out without you, and you're gone and can't get back, all because you decided that you needed to go for whatever reason that wasn't an emergency. So you all have to think about that. Okay.
So Melaney, I don't think we covered this thing that we discussed yesterday. Of get it done, process. What was it we said earlier? Process ASAP.
So, right, process right. Another reason to process things ASAP
is so one of the things that you mentioned yesterday that I was unaware of is that now they are processing green cards much quicker. When we were in the pandemic, everything came basically to a grounding halt, including consular processing. But that's good to know that now they're trying to, they've got a backlog and they're working to get it done. So now is probably one of the optimal times to
make sure that you're getting it done.
And you get in there with that application.
Exactly. That is so true. They are hashing this stuff out, let me tell you. And they're doing it now without interviews, you know what I'm saying? And none of that's going to happen, once again, if you go to a consultant, because your application is not going to be that tight, okay? So you go to an immigration attorney, you have a tight application, you got your evidence, you got your medicals, you got all this kind of stuff. You send it all to USCIS, and they're like, okay, bam, done deal. We had, and this was one of my success stories that I just love because we had an LGBTQ couple who were newlyweds when they came to us, okay? So not only do you have the LGBTQ part of it, okay, same-sex marriage, but now you're newlyweds, a lot of things going on, that you have to maneuver. And they trusted us, they came to us. It took a year and a half, I want to say, from start to finish. And they got that email, hey, just send it, because in this particular instance, we hadn't sent the medicals out because we had started processing it before this whole quick, no interview thing comes up. We got an email that said, just send us some medicals. We sent those medicals off to the address, and boom, got an approval. They got their green card. He got his green card and was like, done.
Don't you love it when that happens?
I was so excited. I was so excited for them. I mean, if you guys see my social media, I probably have it all over social media about this is my client win that I love. But it was just so like heartfelt. I was like, yes. I was like, you know, we got a same-sex marriage, we got a newlywed, you know what I'm saying? The family didn't really, you know, approve. So, you know, we had some hurdles to jump to, you know, show that, hey, we love each other. This is a bona fide marriage. You know, we're not marrying for a green card, and we got it done. And yeah, they were so ecstatic. So I say that to say, you guys just go get it done. Okay. Go find you a good experienced immigration attorney, no matter what your situation is. We can sit down with you. We can let you know your options. We can, you know, help you with any sort of alternative evidence or anything like that that you may need. And let's just get it done. That's my, I guess my PSA. Let's get it done.
I second that.
All right, everyone. Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us. You know, we are here with Beyond the Border every fourth Saturday. I know that we are breaking now for summer break, so we will be back in the fall. Can't wait to see you all. And, you know, if you do need me, you can go to my website, www.lagronelaw.com. You can give my office a call at 678-250-5449, or you can find me anywhere on social media at LaGrone Law. And specifically, if you're in the U.S. Virgin Islands, because yes, we have an office down here, 340-626-0778, and we would be more than happy to assist you and help you with your journey to your American dream. And we will be back, because remember I said we're taking a break, y'all, for summer. All right, everybody's got plans. So we're going to be back on September 23rd. So join us on September 23rd when we are back again with Beyond the Border. Until next time, bye.
Bye.
And Anna, Maria, thank you. Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye.